Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to New Book Who Dis. I'm your host, Death Metal Hero, and with me, I have artist extraordinaire Andy Smith. What's going on, Andy? How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Thank you for having me. Artist
Absolutely.
extraordinaire. Oof, that's a lot to live up to.
Come on, man. You've been in this industry for a while. You've worked with some pretty big names, man. I mean, come on. I
It's
think it's warranted.
this is my 30th anniversary in this industry, which just
Skull, I'll drink to
yeah. I
that.
mean, that is, dude, it's mind blowing. I mean, I think back to when I started in '91,
Mm-hmm.
and I think to myself like, oh, in 10 years it'll be 2001, in 20 years it'll be 2011, in 30 years it'll be 2021. Oh, it's so far away. And
Right?
now
That
here
old
I am.
age. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, you've seen the industry change quite a bit over those 30 years, man. We've had a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of ups and downs and a lot of different things happen. You know.
yeah. I mean, even from the standpoint of just from the creative side of it, when I got into the business, everything was still, it was newsprint, it was
Mm-hmm.
lettered on the boards,
Yep.
it was colorists doing color guides. So there was no
Yeah.
computer lettering, no computer coloring, none of
Oh
that stuff when I
man.
got in.
Yeah. And you said 1992. You said
One.
91. Holy cow, man. So what was the first project you got in on? What was the first book you were working on?
The first thing that saw print was Justice League Quarterly. It was a, like it says, a quarterly book, and it was an
Mm.
anthology series. And I did the Global Guardians story, which I think was like 7 or 8 pages long in it. And I did it for issues 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I did it for five issues. That's the first stuff that saw print. The first job I actually did was an issue of Suicide Squad, which never saw print because the book got canceled before it saw print. So
Right. I mean that
it was
that does
just
happen.
it was a fill-in issue. So
Right.
yeah,
Oh, okay. So was it like one of the issues they keep in the can, or?
yep,
Okay, cool.
yeah. They don't do they haven't done those in years. But yeah, it was they called those inventory issues where it was just a
Sure.
standalone story. And if for some reason the book was running late and the editor was getting nervous, he could just go to the drawer, pull it out, and go, "We're going to print this,"
Right.
because that
A
was
story
also
that.
before Diamond and stuff. So you know, it's not people didn't know really what was coming out 3 months from now, and this was before the internet and stuff. So the only clue if that would to have happened is the issue before might have said to be continued, and then if they ran into problems and printed mine, the
Right.
person that buys Suicide Squad would have been like, wait a second, this isn't a continued thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay. Yeah, they really don't do inventory stories anymore, do they? It seems like they can't really fit them in because there's always events going on. You know, these
yeah, no,
line
they don't
events that
do
involve
inventory stuff.
everything.
They don't even do fill-in issues really anymore.
Yeah.
uh, I mean, they'll schedule them, but I think now they'd rather just they back then they'd rather keep the regular creative team going, and then if they needed to drop in a fill-in, drop in an inventory. Whereas now it's like, oh, this guy's a little
Yeah.
late, get some pages from him, give them to somebody else, or ship the book late. Depending on the book and the artist, they might just
Right.
give the artist leeway and be like, that's cool. We'll just ship the book 2 weeks late, so it's the same artist on it.
Right. Well, I mean, there's something to be said about the consistency of the artist, but at the same time, having to wait for that book. I don't know. It's a tight line. The whole because I work in my local comic shop. I mean, she's
Sure.
been in business since '86.
Oh, nice.
So the whole what was it? Doomsday Clock. That was
Yeah.
supposed to come out like it's supposed to be bi-monthly. Then it was tri-monthly. Then it was quarterly. Then it just came out whenever it did. But Gary Frank got to do all of the artwork on it. So I mean, at least it
Right.
looked the
And
same all the way across.
that's what I was going to bring up is, if you look at Dark Knight Returns from '86,
Mm-hmm.
That took way more than 4 months to come out for those 4 issues,
Sure.
but now people don't care because they're like, look at the trade paperback, it's all Frank. You look at Watchmen. Watchmen's all Dave Gibbons, and
Yep.
that took, I believe, more than 12 months to come out. Same with Camelot 3000. But
Yeah.
so it's a pain in the short term, but in the long term, you've got the one artist on it. So
Mm-hmm. You've got that one consistent piece throughout.
yeah,
It's consistent tone art wise. And
yeah,
that kind of works in the favor of the whole crowdfunding thing that we got going on right now. Being able
yep,
to take as much time as you need. I mean, not an exorbitant amount of time, but take the time you need to actually craft the story that you're trying to make. I think a lot of the problem that we run into now is that artists don't have the time to actually put in the effort to make art like
no,
like Stephen Platt used to do back in the day.
oh yeah,
That ridiculous detail and stuff like that. I don't think anybody has that time anymore. I don't think they give them enough leeway to do that anymore. You know?
no. I mean, when I was doing my first monthly book back in '92, Quasar for Marvel,
Mm-hmm.
I was at, the issue I was drawing wasn't going to hit the stands for like 4 or 5 months.
Right.
The last monthly stuff I did was at DC, and it was Earth 2. And, the issue I was working on came out that next month.
Oh wow.
Which is crazy. And it times have changed too. I mean, you look at the 70s and 80s, and obviously the art styles were different back then, not as detail heavy as they are now, that's for sure.
Sure.
But it was about getting a book done on a monthly basis. Whereas now, if they schedule it right, I think a good time frame for an artist to draw a book, it should be about 6 weeks. When I got into business, it was hammered into my head, 4 weeks to draw a book, which is basically a page a day. But now I think you really need a good 6 just for pencils. And then if you're doing pencils and inks,
Mm.
I'd almost double it out to 8.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, you got to have that time in order to, actually make it look the same. Because you can always tell when something's rushed. You can always
oh
tell
yeah,
when, somebody didn't get the time to put the polish on it that they need, or they didn't get to spend the time setting up the page the way they wanted. So it feels clunky. You know.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
totally.
that's why crowdfunding, man. You get to tell your story your
Exactly.
way. Speaking of your
Exactly.
story, let's go ahead and bring up First Man here, and
Sure.
we'll see what's going on here. And we got some people in the chat. Hail Christopher John.
Hey,
This
what's
is
up,
our
everybody?
homeboy. Silvar Ogar. Looks like he's drinking and throwing the horns. And my buddy Jason, who I do topic list with,
Oh yeah,
his earbuds died. And we got Frog G throwing the links in the chat. Thank you, sir.
beautiful.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Speaking of that, bringing this up here, and there we go. All right, so let's go ahead and watch a trailer.
Sweet. It's not long.
First
So.
Man, you know the drill. A college kid is imbued with great power and likes it. Penumbra has other plans and hand delivers him to Monarch, a fun 64-page action-packed comic book harkening back to the glory days of Marvel Comics, only on Indiegogo.
Nice, very nice.
In and out,
Short, to the
baby.
sweet, or to the point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I'll be honest. I don't watch many videos on the campaigns I've backed, and I think I've backed well over 100 since the whole crowdfunding thing started a few years back.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, Amanda. And I don't really watch
Hey,
many
Amanda.
videos.
What's up, Eric?
What's up, Eric? I do the scrolling first, and I want to see visuals because, look, I don't think everything I've backed has been comic book, graphic novel,
Right.
So I just want to see visuals. And if the visuals hook me, I'll go back and read what the story's about. And even if the story doesn't hook me, if the visuals do, I'm usually in.
Right.
So, and then at that point, I just back it. And maybe at some point I'll watch the video. You know, if somebody's like, dude, you really need to watch it, I might be like, oh, okay. But generally, for me, you know,
Yeah.
I don't need to. So I
You
just
know,
wanted to do a short in and out.
sometimes it's hit or miss with me. If they've got a really cool visual uh, as their thumbnail for a video, I'll click on it.
Yeah,
Like you said, sometimes I don't need to. What I want to see more of is visuals like this. You know, actual artwork
exactly.
from the book. You know.
Yep. Yep.
So first tier here, first man complete set. So what are we getting in this here?
You get the regular print edition, which is with my cover. You get the Bart Sears variant cover, and then there's a program book. So the book itself is 64 pages,
Nice.
square bound, you know, not stapled. And then the program book is an extra 40-page book that is stapled that has, I have variant artists that did their versions of First Man. And I had them all do them in a cool standing type Marvel Universe pose, you know, because I
Yeah.
loved that book when I was growing up. And so there's about 13 to 14 of those guest artists. And then the rest of
Nice.
the program book is going to be behind the scenes stuff, pages, you know, page layouts I scrapped, design stuff I did, you know, unseen stuff,
The
basically,
the
all,
building
you know,
blocks.
behind the
You know,
curtain type stuff.
show some of the thought process behind it.
Exactly. Because, you know, as an artist,
Mm-hmm.
that's the stuff I love to see. You know, that's why when I on my YouTube channel, I do a lot of drawing videos because I like to, you know, I did one today and I said, you know, I wish there was something like this when I was a kid. The only way I got this is having to travel to a convention and watch an artist draw, and it was upside down because I'm in front of his table, you know.
Right.
But now with YouTube and stuff, I can go on there and draw and chat with fans and stuff, and they can watch me as I do stuff. So, you know,
Yeah.
I thought the program book was just another nice little incentive and whatnot. So that's what that is.
You know, I don't know if you've seen any of the videos on my channel, but I used to do a show called Last Wednesday back in the early infancy of YouTube, like 2006. And we would go around to convention, we would interview people, and you know, stuff like that. So I've got a bunch of old videos, you know, of my old interviews on my channel, and it's interesting to see how different YouTube is now versus back then, but
Yeah.
also with the live streams that we've got going on, it's almost like a panel all the time. Like we can have weekly shows,
Oh, yeah.
but it's almost like a weekly panel that you get to have with artists, and sometimes there's rotating people that come in and bring different opinions, different viewpoints. I don't know.
Yep.
This being able to live stream like this is a huge advantage for us, because I mean it's basically like a virtual artist alley, you know.
Right.
We
Well,
you
that,
get a
and
bunch
I
of people
think,
hanging out, and yeah,
you know, hat off to StreamYard because, and you know, I'm new to StreamYard as well, but I'm so glad that I found it through guys like you and other people because until I knew about that, I was like, damn, I can't go live on YouTube until I get this many subscribers or this many this. But with this, no
yeah,
problem.
yeah.
So,
Well, this
and
is how we
multiple
build our audience.
platforms.
Yeah, this is how you build your
Yeah.
platform. You know.
Yeah.
I actually got into watching videos like this because of Ethan. I had interviewed Ethan a
Hmm.
long time ago, and Eric was talking about how he saw the interview that I did with Ethan back in the day.
Oh,
I
that's
was like,
cool.
hey, I know that dude. Let's see what he's doing. And I started watching the videos on drawing and whatnot, and then I discovered other
Yeah.
artists, and I discovered this really cool indie scene of people that are really passionate about making cool comics that are harking back to the stuff that we all love. So
Yep.
yeah, it's been really cool. I would watch for a while. I'd get into the live streams and I'd just watch, just watch. Didn't need to say anything. And then I started interacting. I started meeting people, started talking to people, and it's just a bunch of people that are, they love this industry. They love comics. They like good story. They like good art, and this is how we all come together. It's
Yeah.
pretty amazing. What up,
Yeah. Well,
J-Money?
and I think over the last year, with what's been going on and everything with the pandemic, it's, good things come out of bad stuff. And as much as we all obviously wish there was no pandemic, it has forced people into other options
Yeah,
of stuff. And that's this, you know.
yeah. Yeah, we've circumvented the need to we circumvented the need for. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, for the shops, it's direct to consumer, and that's
Right.
awesome because we can do the prestige stuff. I don't know if you've seen any of the stuff that Polito has done with Lady Death and Coffin
Oh,
Comics.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I remember when he launched his first Kickstarter, I was like, "Oh shit, Polito's bringing back Lady Death! Yes!" And then slowly but surely, each one of the campaigns just built, and now he's been able to basically resurrect Chaos Comics. He's rebuilding, a comics
Yeah.
universe. He's got a warehouse, he's got staff, all because he built it up slowly with his audience. So this
Yep.
this crowdfunding thing is absolutely viable. I mean, Jimmy Palmiotti, he's another one of the early adopters of this crowdfunding model.
Yep.
His paper films, he and Amanda, they've been doing some really good stuff.
Yep.
So it's cool. It's cool to see how it evolves. And
Totally.
gives you the opportunity to bring back your character. So tell us a little bit about Apollo here.
So,
What was the impetus for your character?
well, I grew up, uh, I got my first comics probably around 1982, 83, something
Mm-hmm.
like that, when I was like 12, 13. And then from there, I went and got back issues of stuff. And I worked at a comic shop as a teenager. And
Awesome.
I got I got hooked on like Captain Marvel, the Jim Starlin stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got the whole series. And I just love the aspect of it with Rick Jones and Captain Marvel switching places, and kind of like the Shazam thing too, with Billy Batson and Shazam.
Mm-hmm.
And even, this is the first time I thought of it too, but even like Firestorm, where Firestorm and I can't remember the professor's name, the professor merge, and
Oh yeah.
the professor is basically the conscious talking to Firestorm as Firestorm's doing the stuff,
Yeah.
kind of guiding him. So with First Man, that's kind of what he is. It's this essence, this non-tangible essence, and there's 10 of them spread all across the universe, galaxies, whatever. And each essence finds a host on a different planet to inhabit. And the point is trying to keep them separated from the big bad guy, which is Monarch. Well, Monarch has gone through and collected all 9 of the 10. And the 10th one resides in Luke Henry, who's the college kid that turns into Apollo. And he has that when he's in that form. Apollo's kind of like the professor as in Firestorm, where Luke's controlling the body and doing all that, but Apollo can kind of chime in if need be. And so basically, Monarch tracks across the universe or the galaxies, whatever, this last essence, and it's on Earth, and that's why he comes to Earth and wants to take it back. But trying to think how to word it without giving much away. But, I mean, the basic gist is the human, I guess you could say the human spirit. He doesn't realize how strong the human spirit can be. So whereas getting the other 9 essences from the other 9 planets spread out through the cosmos was a little easier, this one won't be as much because humans have a little bit more going on, we'll say. So, and then Penumbra, the female character in the book, has a special tie to that one essence that inhabits Luke, and I won't go into that because that would be a spoiler, and I don't want to do that. So, so that's the gist. It's
very cool.
Kind of Captain Marvel-esque, kind of Shazam-esque in a way. The stuff I
bit
do,
of, Green Lantern esque type thing with the
I mean,
the
that's
10
a great
essences.
point. There's the green, and I've said that before. There's the Green Lantern vibe with the whole essences, because
Yeah,
unlike Green Lantern, where there's like millions of rings out there, there's only literally these 10 essence, but they do search out a specific individual
yeah,
to reside in. So that's kind of like the Green Lantern part of it. The
yeah.
non-Green Lantern part is, there none of these, the other 9 were like protectors of anything like Green Lantern is.
All
They were
right.
just host bodies basically.
Eric McIntyre said that he has to dip. He's got a meeting to be at. But he did have a question. Is
Sure.
First Man going to be a continuing series, and do you have plans for a second campaign? I really enjoy your art.
I thank you very much, Eric. I want it to be a continuing series. When it comes to plans for a second campaign, it's more in terms of plans for another story, which of course there's more stories that can be told. And I think kind of touching on, like we were talking about Lady Death,
Yeah.
if I can keep, if I can be successful at it and grow it, I'd like to do that model where it's standalone stories with maybe a subtle subplot that goes through, but for the most part, you can just pick it up, read it, done, move
Yeah.
on to the next one. But I'd love to
Self-contained
continue it.
stories.
What's that?
Self-contained stories.
Yeah, self-contained stories. So I'd love to continue it, and I love drawing superhero stuff, and since this is my own thing, I pretty much put in all the type of stuff I like to do, which is the standard hero, the hot chick, and then the big brawly guy. So, and then if I can do more stories, do a second campaign, I can pretty much say that you see these 3, but then I would introduce other characters that I have and whatnot as well to build it out some. So,
Awesome.
but that's the plan. So,
Yeah,
and I also
absolutely.
look at it kind of. I was talking to somebody else about this, with the way the crowdfunding is and stuff, and with most of the creators doing most of the work themselves, I could see it as maybe twice a year tops, if not maybe just once a year, kind of like the European model where, they put out the hardcover albums that are usually either totally done by one person, writing and all the art, or there's a writer and then the artist does everything, lettering included, and they come out like once a year.
Yeah.
But over there, they're used to that mentality of going, oh, I got this one album, I read it, and they know when they're done, yeah, it'll probably be a year compared to, next month.
Yeah.
So,
And the way people buy graphic novels and trades right now, I think that's probably a smart move. Because I have a lot of people that come into the shop and they're like, yeah, I missed the first 2 issues. You know what? I'll just wait until the trade comes out. And it's,
yeah.
It kind of makes me sad because I love the floppies. Obviously,
Oh, yeah.
look behind me. But I don't know, it kind of makes more financial sense sometimes.
Yeah, it just depends on what it is. Like, we were talking about, oh my God, the Gary Frank one, Doomsday Club.
Oh, Doomsday Clock. Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I don't personally know Gary. I love his work. I don't think I've even ever met him at a con. Hey, Rick, good to see you. I don't think I've already met him at a con or anything, but I knew just from Gary's work and the amount of work he puts into his stuff, 'cause he does the inking and everything himself. I was like, this is not coming out monthly. So I just waited. And then when the trade paperback came out, that's when I got it.
Yeah.
But then, like, death metal, Capullo's a monthly guy,
Oh, yeah.
So death metal, I'm
Capullo's
like,
a
oh, I can
workhorse.
get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Monarch already has 9. I was hoping each guy had 1 and they'd be in a cosmic ray scavenger hunt. Well, you just never know what happens, though. He might already have them, but you just don't know. I know. But you'll have to find
you're
out.
the one with the master plan, man.
Right.
What's up,
Exactly.
Silvar? Good to see you, man.
And there's a couple there's a nice, without giving it away, I'll say this, there's a nice homage to a Jim Starlin thing he did in Captain Marvel. Not a story thing. So I'm not like going, oh, he did this story thing, I want to rip that. Nothing like that. He did a design thing in one issue of Captain Marvel, and he did a bunch of issues, so this doesn't even narrow it down because I don't want to give it away. But he just did this cool thing, and I was like, I kind of like that motif.
So a little
so I expanded
homage.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I kind of expanded on it. So
you're doing the art, pencils and inks. Who's
everything but the colors.
Huh?
I said everything but the color.
Everything but the colors. Who's doing your colors?
A guy named I'm going to so butcher his name. He lives in India. Uh-huh. I'll spell it and then I'll pronounce it wrong, I'm sure. It's Periya. Periya? Yeah. Pillay. Because his last name is Pillay. So Periya Pillay. Yeah. That's just one of the things. He lives in India, so I've never talked to him. It's just through email.
Sure.
See, that's so yeah, he's doing the colors. He's doing just such an awesome job. In fact, I got to send him some pages tomorrow. And then my buddy, a friend of mine named Rob Snyder, who is actually a cartoonist that lives up in West Virginia. We've been friends since I was like 18. Mm-hmm. So many moons ago. He's a cartoonist as well. And he's actually helping out with the scripting because I find that to be hard. The plotting, not so much, but the scripting, and I've bounced some plot ideas off him, but the scripting is what I find harder to do and whatnot. So he's helping me out with that.
Well, that's awesome. So, I mean, sometimes it helps to have an outside perspective, Yeah,
and when it's just, we talked on the phone. Everybody has their own process. We just kind of chatted on the phone, and I kind of we kind of went through it page by page, and I kind of just gave him an overall synopsis per page of like, Luke's saying something like this, or Apollo's this, or whatever. And he actually sent me some script today, and I read it, and I was like, and I'm going through the art that I drew, matching it up from the Word document. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
So it's
I'm looking forward to sending it to my buddy Steve Dutro. He's the guy doing the lettering, who I actually went to the Kubert school with, and that guy's a workhorse. He's lettered. He's been a professional letterer since he graduated the Kubert school. So as long as I've been drawing, he's been lettering, and his work is just, fantastic. It's very, I can pick it out. Every letterer has their style, and he started off doing hand lettering and then moved into the digital realm by creating a font based on his hand lettering. But he's worked for Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image, you name it, he's done it. So
that's awesome. Sounds like you got a good team. Then
he designed the logo. Got to give him props for that. I don't want to take credit for something I didn't do.
You know what? Logo design. Sometimes people don't realize how difficult it can be to come up with a good logo. Because I went to school for graphic design, and trying to figure out something that actually encapsulates what you're trying to say in like a single graphic.
Right. Well, it's that, and it's also, and I think this isn't as, I don't know, popular anymore. But the old school logo design is, I want to be able to see it from like 5-6 feet away.
Sure.
There are some logos out there I'm like, I don't even know what that says. Which, there's a plus and minus behind that in a way. The minus is, I don't know what that says. The plus is, once you know what it says, and once it kind of makes its way around, once it pops into the lake and ripples through, then it doesn't matter, because people just look at it and go, oh, that's blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
It's translated. Yeah.
Right. But I'd rather have a book that has a logo that, if it was a 10-year-old that never saw it before, could look at it, read it, and get some type of sense of what it is
For sure.
and not ask a question. So,
Well, think about the classics that were on the spinner rack back in the day, or on the New Comics wall. The X-Men logo, Amazing Spider-Man, Batman, Superman. Those logos. They stand out. They're striking, and you can read them. They're instantly readable from across the room, like you said. And I mean that helps things stand out. You couple that with an eye-catching cover, and you've got a book that's going to grab people's attention while it's on the rack.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So so then just showing off some of the art from it. If you scroll down, obviously that's interior art, but then there's some of the guest artists from the program book, so people can see who's doing the different shots of First Man and stuff.
Can I just say that I really love this bio that you have up here? Like, this reminds me of like the old Marvel universe. Like, it's like
that's it. Oh no, that's it.
Yes.
I love those. And when I was a kid, that book came out. If that book would have came out 4 or 5 years later, I probably could have got something in it. But it came out when I was still like just 14 years old. And I actually did write it, send some art up to the editor and stuff. And I got a nice reply back and everything, I mean, he knew I was a kid. But I always wanted to do them. So this book is going to have in the back of the book, after the story, there's an origin page, a 1-page origin, which you can actually, you see it when you scroll down, but on the image that you're showing right now, you can see it. But every character is going to have their Marvel Universe type bio page as well.
That's awesome.
So I just,
I'm excited for that.
Got to do them. And I've got my fake hostess ad because I grew up in a time where you always saw the hostess ads.
I saw.
So I did a fake hostess ad with Monarch with the team, and tried to bring back that old school late 70s, early 80s feel for it. And my buddy that's doing the writing.
Fun.
What's that?
Just an air of fun back when comics were just pure escapism and fun.
That's what I want. I just want a book that's fun. I don't want I don't know. I mean, it's supposed to be escapism,
Escape
so
from reality.
And that's what I want. So then that's what I like in my comics and stuff. And don't get me wrong, I read some stuff that, well, I take that back. I don't really read anything that has a big political bent to it because I just don't, it's just not what I want to read.
Yeah, that's not what you're out to do. You're out to tell a good, entertaining story, regardless of where people's politics lie.
Right.
This is outside of politics. This is, This is.
I think that the most political I'd ever get, probably in a book, is because I like to ground things in the real world, kind of like has always been done. If for some reason I was going to draw the president, whoever's the president at the time, that's who I draw.
Right. Regardless.
But that's probably as far as I'd ever go, is just, if I was going to mention any political figure, it would be whoever it is at the time I'm drawing the book. That's it. Sure. But I'm not going to do any stories that are based around that stuff.
That's just grounding it in reality, the current reality,
exactly.
Pedro Ang says, "What is up, Luke, chat, and Andy? You had a How to Draw Comics manual with that character, right?"
I sure did. Drawing Dynamic Comics came out 21 years ago this year. And I used those characters because for the publisher I was working with, obviously I couldn't use copyrighted characters.
Right.
So I just used mine.
How to draw dynamic characters, right?
Nope. Drawing Dynamic Comics.
Drawing Dynamic Comics. Ah, okay. I'm going to bring it up. That way people can find it.
Yeah, I actually had 2 of them. I had that one, and then I had another book featuring them called Drawing American Manga Superheroes. Because that, that was right when it was still pretty popular. That style was still pretty popular in comics.
Right.
So the publisher wanted to follow up with that, Yeah, there you go. And you can get it
Yeah.
cheap because it's 20 years old.
Let's see if I can I share that tab? You know, they should give you the ability to switch tabs. So I could have just switched over to this
There it
one.
is.
There's the cover, you guys.
Look at that. $3.99.
That's a steal.
I would
I mean,
never.
brand new,
And look,
it's
here's the thing: it's out of
21.26,
print.
Used. Yeah. Out of print,
But
guys.
it's out of
Amazon has
print.
them.
So I mean, if somebody buys it for $4, yeah. Well, I guess the better way of saying it is, I wouldn't want somebody to go, "Oh no, I'm going to pay that full price because I don't want to take any money out of my pocket." Oh no, I've already got royalty. You know, it's out of print.
Right.
So you can buy it for 50 cents for all I care.
You've been paid for
Oh,
it.
for $3.99, I might have to buy a few more because I only got a couple.
Right? Hey, you know, I mean, I'm sure we'll do conventions eventually, but you could get them, sign them, and then sell them. Hell, you could even offer them as a perk on your campaign, man.
Yeah, that's true.
You know? But
That's
yeah,
true.
go
So
check it
yeah,
out, guys.
that's 20 years old.
Wow.
I know.
Holy cow. So, who were you working for at the time when you did the drawing dynamic comics? Were you doing freelance and decided to
Yeah,
do
I
a
was
book on your
freelance. I
own?
was working specifically at the time that I drew that book. I was working for Marvel because I had a year to draw the how-to book. So, you know, I had to do other work as well. But yeah, I was working for Marvel at the time.
What is up, Ryan Wynn? Welcome,
Ahoy!
sir.
What's up,
Welcome.
Ryan?
So, does anybody have any questions for Andy in the chat? I love this hostess ad. This, you know, the parody ad.
I'd love to do a whole book that way.
That would be cool. That would be really cool.
That I could actually color if I did that.
Right? You know, there's something
Well,
there's something nice about like the, I don't know, the flats and then just
Sure.
like subtle highlights. I don't know. I mean, and
No, I
also
hear ya.
the kind of works with the whole newsprint feel, you know?
Yep.
Those
Yep.
the colors
part
on
variant
Barry
cover.
Windsor Smith's Weapon X. Have you looked at the reprint? Not published on like newsprint paper.
Oh yeah.
The colors are just almost garish.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, because he did it knowing it was going to be colored on newsprint.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that was the thing at the time when books were newsprint. Even inkers approached how they inked differently because there was no scanning back then. So they took photostats of everything to reduce it down, and that would tighten up your line work.
Yeah.
So when you were inking for reduction, whereas now when you scan something at 600 dpi,
right,
everything shows up. So there's no real inking for reduction anymore. So like you could look at different inkers from, you know, back then before everything switched over. And even my stuff when I started out, because I started out, you know, newsprint and stuff, I would ink differently because I knew the type of line I put down would close up some and would look different from when they're original. Whereas now, even though I work 10 by 15, you know, the full page size like most guys still do, once it scans 600 dpi and shrunk down, that line still looks the exact same. It's just smaller.
Yeah.
You know? So there was definitely a little bit of a learning curve as well. So.
Yeah. Yeah, the printing has come a long way. You know, and some of it, sometimes I see something, I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And other times I'm like, you know what? I wonder if this would look better on newsprint.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love the smell of newsprint. I love the feel of newsprint.
Oh man, I still, you know, most of the comics I get these days are back issue stuff from the 70s and 60s and whatnot. And I'll come home from like a small convention with a handful of stuff, and I'll sit on the couch and I'll bust it open. I don't have a comic sitting near me, but I'll bust it open and I'll go. And my wife's like, "That is so disgusting." I'm like, "Oh, this is the best. I want a candle that smells like this. Screw your beach smelling candle. I want this candle in my office."
The ink. Oh yeah. Totally.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
She hates going into used bookstores.
whole,
She's like, "I'm getting a headache from the smell."
Oh man, that's so sad. It's like people that taste cilantro and it tastes like soap. You know.
Yeah. It's,
No, it's
you know,
the paper, the ink. I mean, it's just like this whole kinesthetic feeling. Like, I'll take a
yep.
whiff of a comic, and I'm transported back to when I was a kid, sitting in my room, just going through stacks of X-Men books. You know?
Oh yeah.
Yep. Hmm.
Yeah.
Love that
No.
feeling. But okay, so Silvar is asking about the tiers, stretch goals in the campaign. They're like, okay, yeah, you guys are just chatting here. What are the stretch goals? So
Okay.
what?
Well, the stretch keep going down because the first
Keep going
stretch.
down.
Yeah, this first stretch goal is at 8,000, and it's a bookmark. I did a campaign before this, and the bookmark seemed to be a nice hit, and it's a two-sided one, so it's not just one side white on the back or whatever. So two-sided character bookmark.
Right.
And then I'll probably do. I hope to do. Hopefully it gets there, so I have to add more. I like trading cards. I like that. I like all that old school stuff I used to
Oh,
collect.
totally.
So trading cards, possibly a 3x5 inch sticker, and then just have to figure it out. But until that one hits, I won't post like another one. So
So we gotta get to this one first. You're at it's an 8K, and we're at currently
it's like 52.
52K, and you're still in your first 30, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 24 days. Oh yeah, awesome.
Oh yeah.
All right, so we got an 8K stretch goal for a bookmark, and the featured perk is the
The
complete
featured
set.
is the set,
Yeah.
but then if you don't want all three, you can. They're all separate as well. So the program book is 15. The printed
Yeah.
book is 25. Bart's cover, the variant's 35.
That's a great cover by Bart.
Yep. And then there's a tier for just the program book and that. Oh, I gotta add. It. You know how these are. They're constantly evolving. I realize I don't have a tier just for mine and Bart's cover if you don't want the program book. Oh no, I take it back. There's an add-on. So yeah, so
Okay, I
if you
was about
want
to
to
ask
get,
if you had add-ons.
yeah, if you want to basically get Bart's cover and like mine or the program book or something else, I
Right.
have his as an add-on. So
Awesome. And then you've got a 6x9 head sketch in the book for $100. Wow.
yeah, that's in the back because the cover's going to be heavier stock.
Mm-hmm.
So then the inside back cover will have it's hard to see, but it'll have the blue, outline like a comic book page.
Yeah.
And I would draw inside of that either a head or below that. There's also a figure level. So I would do like a 3/4 figure to fill up the space.
Well, that's awesome. Not only an original comic, but an original piece of artwork as well. Jump on that, guys. And
then I just popped up today because so I have a lot of blank sketch covers, and towards the beginning of last year and end of the beginning of 2020, before everything got shut down, I would work up covers because I had a big convention list I was supposed to go to throughout the year, and I take these covers with me that are done and just put them on my table.
Sure.
And sell them. And the last con I did was in February last year in Texas, and I sold like the last sketch cover I had. So I worked up more, and I would just do like one a week, or well, this one took a lot longer than just a day to do. But most of the sketch covers aren't as intricate as that. Most of them are just single figure, two figures.
Right.
But I figured, I'll just add a sketch cover to it. I might, as it goes on, I might put a few more up that I have done. Just got to see.
Sure. Why not, man? I mean, for the time being, nobody's going to conventions for the most part, so might as well put them up here and sell the artwork. Let's see. We got more questions. Silvar wants to know if the books will come signed.
That's a great question. And as of now, I'm not doing that.
Mm.
And the only ones that would be signed would be the ones that have the art, because the other ones would ship straight from the printer.
Ah, okay.
Now, this is a great place to get feedback. I could possibly do that as a stretch goal, because if I did it as a stretch goal and it hit it made enough, then all of them would come to me, and then I'd be the one physically sending them out. So
Mhm.
I'd want to probably make that a
Which,
stretch goal,
yeah,
just because of the time it would take to sign all the stuff, and then me physically have to package it up, go to stamps.com, do all that instead of the
right.
printer doing it. And then there's also the cost. And I hate getting into these details. I don't want to sound like I'm whining, but if the printer does
Well, I
it,
mean, these are real logistics, man.
well, if the printer does it, honestly, they ship right from the printer. If I do it, then all the books have to ship to me, which means I have to incur the shipping cost of all those books coming to
Right.
me from the printer, compared to
I
him just getting the addresses and sending them out.
I think your boy Zach on the first Jawbreakers campaign had them send him a bunch of sheets. He signed them, and then they did that as a tip-in uh, page.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I don't know if you could talk to them about doing something like that, and then have that be the stretch goal. If that would be easier, something like
Yeah, I
that
mean, I could
might
sign.
help.
I could possibly do, because another option for a stretch goal is uh, like an 8.5 by 11 print,
Mm,
and prints. I could have all those sent and sign something like that. That's an option.
definitely,
Or the
definitely.
bookmarks for that matter, or trading cards.
Yeah.
It's not the physical book that's signed, but it is something that's signed. Somebody's asking about patches, asking for a friend.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. A
Asking
lot
for
of
Shay.
people.
I will warn you just ahead of time on Red Valkyrie. Shay will ask you about patches. She and I are
Oh
both
no, that's
patch
fine.
fiends. I'm also
I'm
very,
going
very
on her.
fond of
I'm going on her
t-shirts.
show. That's a great idea that I'm actually going to keep in mind and do some research on, because I like different stretch goals, but I'm in the comic book realm of bookmark trading cards, stickers. I
Hmm.
never would have thought of patches. I just, I think patches, and I flash back to a 12-year-old kid that skinned his knee, tore open his jeans, and his mom's like, "Let me get that USA flag and patch it right onto your knee of the jeans." And I've got a photo of
Right.
my young self wearing something like that. So, true story. So,
Oh, see,
but patches is a great idea. I'm definitely going to look into that.
I've got a battle vest. I've got a jean vest with all of my death metal and heavy metal patches on it, and I'm making one for comics as well. So I've got
Actually, I'm
I've
going to
got a
write that
patch from
down.
Arts Chrono Mechanics. I got a patch from Arts Black and White. I've got a patch from Unhinged Entertainment. Yeah, all kinds of
Well, there's
stuff.
also
Love it.
pins. I just thought of pins, because
Yeah.
you said you've got that vest. My daughter has a bulletin board in her room because she collects pins.
Yeah. Pins are great. You know,
It,
little buttons and then the enamel pins. Totally cool. People love swag, man. Stuff that they
I
can
love
sport their
swag.
fandom. You know,
No, I love all that stuff.
I mean, that's part of the reason why I love T-shirts. I've got a huge T-shirt collection just because I love graphic tees.
Sure.
I love sporting the logo of my favorite band. I love sporting
Yeah.
some of my favorite artwork. You know,
Yeah.
I've got a Venom shirt from the what is it, Lethal Protector #1, where he's going, drawn by Mark Bagley. Love that
Yep.
image. It was a great cover, but I
Yeah.
love wearing that shirt just because that art was like something that was a part of my childhood, and now it's on a T-shirt, and I can rock my fandom. I love that stuff.
That's cool. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
great idea. Like I said, I wrote those down. I'm definitely going to look
awesome,
into that stuff.
awesome,
So
and trust
those
me,
are
I'm sure
great
you'll
ideas.
get more wonderful ideas when you're hanging out with Red Valkyrie. Cy and Shay are both very good at this stuff. What up,
Oh,
Fenrir
cool.
Fire?
Good.
Hail, brother.
I'm looking forward to it.
Silvar says, I like big metal buttons. Frog G,
That's
rocking the
cool.
link in the chat. Thank you, sir. What up,
Yes, thank
Apex
you.
Comics? Oh, okay. Apex Comics. Hail Death Metal Hero. I designed a character for you along with Fenrir Fire for my Apex Comics Cavalcade Annual #1, late 2020 on Indiegogo. Whoop whoop. Nice.
Nice.
This is exciting. Well, see, that's what I love about this whole indie scene we got going on here. It's just I don't know, a wellspring of creativity. You know,
Oh yeah.
it's steel sharpens steel. You know,
Yep.
you've got talented, creative people that are working on their stuff, trying to be the best that they can be. I mean, look at Rob Willis, like some of the pages that he cranks out. I'm just like, oh my god, what are you doing? What am I doing? You know, but it makes me want to work harder. You know, it doesn't discourage
Oh
me.
yeah.
It makes me want to work harder so I can, earn my place. So I can earn my keep. You know.
Dude, I mean, that's, part of the reason I still collect comics is because I love the art form, and there's still artists that I follow, and same thing. They just make you want to work harder because you're like, oh, that guy just upped his game. Damn it, my turn, and
Yes,
it just,
exactly that.
yeah,
Exactly that, and that's the way it should be. I mean, I hate to use cliched terms, but a rising tide lifts all boats. I mean, it's a true thing.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
if we work harder, it lifts the art form. We can tell better stories.
totally.
People have more faith in the medium rather than thinking it's just something to toss aside because it has no entertainment value. I mean, clearly
Yeah.
it does. Look at these movies that make billions upon billions of dollars.
Oh yeah,
There's a reason why these characters work so well. You know.
yeah. Hey, do me a favor and scroll down to the program book, and let's show some of the art from the different people that have drawn First Man.
Oh.
Closer to the bottom before the bookmarks, I think. In fact, I know it is before.
Parody ads. I love that thing.
After that, and after that. There we go.
Damn. All right.
Oh, wait, that's not the right. That shouldn't be the right page. I updated it today. How old's that link? That's weird.
Hang on. If I bring my second monitor real close to my face.
No, if you refresh it, because that's not. Hold on, let me look at something here.
Okay.
I just want to look because I changed out those graphics to make those. Oh, what the heck? Oh, it looks like I go back in tomorrow. I changed out. Well, that blows. So I changed out. I don't know why it didn't save. I went in and separated all those and made them bigger, so you can see the art better.
So you can see them. Well, for
so I'll have to go in and do that.
This is a
It's weird.
Who's who of talented artists. Alan Davis, Brandon Peterson, Bart Sears, George. You got George Perez drawing First Man up in here. What?
Now I'll be honest. Most of those pieces, are about 20 years old.
Okay.
So I don't want people to think that I just went out and. Okay, so the guy that brought up my How to Draw book.
Yeah.
Most of those pieces are all in my How to Draw book. That's why I got it. Because I wanted to show that the purpose of the lesson, I guess you could say, is I wanted to show that the lessons on drawing I'm teaching aren't to draw like me. It's to take the foundations I'm teaching and by applying them, you'll eventually arise at your own style. And here are these professional artists that all have the same foundation building blocks to draw, but look at all the different styles when they draw the same character.
Yeah.
So that's the purpose. So before I put the campaign out, I emailed everybody and said, hey, would it be cool if I repurpose this art? And they were all like, yeah, go ahead.
That's awesome.
So that's the bait. So I don't want people to think like, oh my God, that's a new George. Nope. All this art's like 20 years old, but they're still cool as hell.
Oh yeah. I mean, these guys are still, they were amazing back then and they're amazing now. And J. Scott Campbell, Adam Hughes. I love Adam. He's a funny dude. I love talking to him. Brian Hitch, Mike Zeck, and Kevin Nolan, nice. So if you guys are a fan of art, and obviously, like me, you're gonna want to get
And
the bonus book.
do you know who Mark Beecham is?
I've heard the name before. I'm not familiar.
He did
Oh,
that
hold on.
one for me. So that'll be in it
Oh
as well.
wow! I love that hand.
Yeah, Mark's awesome. So that'll be
Hand.
in there as well. And then I've got a couple others that I just didn't list. Well, gotta have some surprises.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can't give it all away.
That's
Right
right.
up front. This is exciting, man. Fantastic art. Look, and then that cover. Now, you and Bart did Brutes and Babes for Wizard, right? Was that?
No,
Did you work
Bart
on
did
that? With him?
that.
No.
Bart was doing that right when I met him. He started
Okay.
doing that stuff for Wizard.
Okay.
Him and Garrett go way back, but
Oh, okay.
he actually, this is a little known fact. When Wizard magazine first started, Garrett had Bart design a mascot character of a little wizard, cartoony looking dude, and he showed up in only the handful of the first few magazines, and then I guess
Yeah.
they dumped the idea. But Bart drew those as well. But
Okay.
Bart started Brutes and Babes for Garrett on his own as a monthly thing, and then after, shit, I don't know how many years Bart did it, 6-7 years, something like that.
Quite a long time. Yeah.
He just couldn't do it anymore, and then that's when Garrett would have a guest artist like every month or something instead. No, we did Ominous Press, which featured those two characters in the early 90s. And then we brought Ominous Press back in 2016 because we only put 3 issues out in the early 90s, but it was supposed to be 4. It was supposed to be more than that, but the first story arc was 4 issues. So we put 3 out in the early 90s, and then the comic book industry went woo. So
Yeah.
that's all we got out. So we brought it back in 2016 and reprinted those 3 issues with some new material. And then we finished the actual 4th one. So that first story arc was complete. And then I did a 4-issue miniseries called Demigod, which is a character Bart created that I penciled and inked.
Yeah.
Yep. And then we did a 4-issue series called Dread Gods that Tom Rainey drew. And these were both written by Ron Mars. And then there's a one-shot called Giant Killers, which was Bart's character that he wrote
Yeah.
and did part of the story. And then Rick Leonardi and Mark Pennington did the bulk of the story. So
I actually grabbed a couple of sporadic issues of Demigod.
Yep.
When it came into the shop, and I remember seeing Giant Killer, and then somebody snatched it before I could get it. You know, because I like to wait until like the end of the day when I'm working to give somebody
You're
a chance
polite.
to buy
That's
stuff.
nice.
You know, because
Yeah.
I work there, I get to see cool stuff all the time. And if
Oh,
it's
yeah.
there at the end of the day, then I'll go ahead and buy it. So somebody snagged it out from under me before I could get it. So
Oh,
it's all good. Yeah, you know.
I hear you.
I'll find it again later. You know, there's this this Will Sprataccio book that he put out with Marvel. It was some kind of mature readers. I can never remember the name, but it was like Dead of Night or something like that. It's like
Oh wait, was
creature.
it Legion something?
Yes, that exact thing. I saw
But
that in the back of magazines all the time. Had no clue what it was. Could never find it. Always wanted to find it. It showed up in my shop, and I was like, oh. And I managed to make it to the end of the day, and nobody bought it. That went home with me.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Now I got to find the second issue.
Yeah, that was a square bound thing, right?
Yep.
Perfect
Square
bound. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
I think it was.
That was like before
93.
X-Men, wasn't it?
You know what? I can't remember exactly what it was. The character, once I looked at it, reminded me of Warbird from the Shield.
Yeah.
You know, because the whole face thing. But yeah, I'm not sure what it was. I think it had ties to Ghost Rider, if anything. Ghost Rider and Mephisto, because it was kind of supernatural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I remember it. That's cool.
Yeah. But I'd seen it for, a couple of decades and had
Yeah.
never found it anywhere. And then it was there in a new acquisitions box that she had got. I was like, oh my God. So yeah, that's the fun of the hunt, going on the hunt and finding things in a shop,
Yeah.
So, First Man was, you put it out through Image back in the day, right?
Yeah, one issue.
Oh, only one issue.
Oh yeah,
Damn.
that was it. And it said to be continued. So this is finally the rest of the story.
Oh, that's awesome. That makes this even cooler, man.
Yeah, no, it was
So
it was one issue, and um, you know, it said to be continued.
that's awesome. So there is
So,
one issue floating out around there, folks. Go
and the funny
scour your
thing is,
comic
I
shop
go
and
to
find it.
lots of you know, I live in North Carolina, so North Carolina is a little more opened up. South Carolina is. So I've gone to comic shops, and I've gone to. There's been a couple like one day shows and stuff, and I look through dollar boxes all the time because
Sure.
I'm cheap and you can find good stuff. I've yet to come across one. Maybe I've come across one in like 10 years.
Hmm. Okay. Well, but they're out there. I mean, somebody will find them. So, any chance of a reprint of the first issue?
Well, I got about 150 of them sitting in my closet. So
you know, that could be another tier. That could be a stretch goal. Get the first issue
well, it couldn't
signed.
be. It can't be a stretch goal because if I run out, then I'm out.
Okay, fair
And if
enough.
there's,
Yeah, yeah. All right. So
um,
make it a tier. Make it a
yeah, I
tier.
thought about that
Yeah.
because some of the art in this book is the first issue, but it's remastered, so it's recolored.
Mm-hmm.
It's the it's rescripted. So the script
Right.
from the first one, I just chucked it. So all the dialogue's new, all the coloring's new, and then I did what I call a Neil Adams, and I went in and I redrew some faces and stuff since it's like 20 something years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I did touch ups to the art so I could bring it more into line with what I'm doing now and
Okay.
everything. So
Well, I mean, it's cool to see the differences because let's see, where is it? Where? Because I found black and white, like the original black and white from back in the day that Art did, you know. But it's cool to see the
oh
differences
yeah, I got those.
in what he did to remaster it,
Yeah,
because
dude, I
same
love
characters,
that.
same stories, but he punched it up. You can
Oh
tell that he
yeah,
put a
I
bunch of work into it to make it better. So
yeah
it is kind of cool to see that transformation. To
yeah.
see how the story ages and matures as the creator ages and matures.
Well, that's like what Frag is doing with uh, blood blood sport. I already forgot.
Good old Black Flag.
Black Flag, yeah.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
got those. I've got so like you, I've got Art's black and white, and then I got
Yep.
his new one that he did, and then I've got the original Black Flags, and I'm waiting for I back Fragas, of course, because I can't wait to see what he's done to the old stuff to kind of remaster it,
Oh yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
then the new
It's
stuff, of
exciting,
course.
man.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, it's this is all crowdfunded stuff. This is my Lady Death. This is Mary Boys. Got USA Assassin here. Got my
Oh, it's
Elysian
awesome.
Fields brand. You know, Graveyard Shift, Jawbreakers, Cyberfrog. Yep, and my buddy Jim Ballant. He just did Tarot Kickstarter.
Oh yeah.
Lost Pages, like this.
Yep.
Love this stuff. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
exciting to see, comics being made by people that love comics, like this one, old Brutus the Badass, my homie Donald
Wait,
DeLay.
bring it down so I can see the title. Oh, cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this whole I love this whole indie scene because it's kind of like hanging out in the comic shop for me. This is how being at the comic shop always was for me. Just, people love comics. We talk about comics, have conversations. It's fun. the way comics should be. And that's what I
Yeah.
love about this whole scene is that people are here to have fun, make comics, and, you know, enjoy being comic fans. You know, celebrate the things that bring us together rather than, you know, bicker about the things that tear us apart.
Exactly.
Right?
Oh, I totally agree.
Hmm?
I said I totally agree.
So, anybody got any questions for Andy? Let's see. Silvar says that actually is cooler because it's historical. Talking about this here, that and I agree because it's because it's historical and everybody said yeah, go ahead, run with it. That's awesome, man. Look
Yeah.
at the power in the stance of that Brian Hitch. Holy
The
cow.
funny thing is, so the Brian Hitch one's inked, and it's inked because his pencils were so light
Yeah.
that I just couldn't get a good scan. So I said, screw it, I'll just ink it.
Yeah.
So
There you go. And he said that that would make an awesome poster, especially colored. I'm not sure which one he's talking about, but they're all
I think you might
fantastic.
mean them all. And the one difference is they won't have the logos behind them. So they'll just be
Okay.
printed
So they'll just
in the
be
book.
artwork.
Yeah.
Nice. That is so cool. Why is Indiegogo asking for tips? Mad Ruth
I saw that
is
too on a
back at
couple
number
things I backed.
102.
I was like, that's cute. Next.
That's adorable.
That's
All right,
that's
so-
adorable. You're getting a percentage of all this stuff. So moving on.
Well, I would hope that the tip goes to the creator, not Indiegogo. Indiegogo don't need no tips.
I know.
But Mad Ruth was backer number 102.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
You're awesome.
Mad Ruth, that's awesome. What is your next project after First Man, Andy? Apex.
Hopefully another First Man.
Hell yeah. Continue the story.
Hopefully another First Man. I mean, it's a character that I created. So it's just one of those things where, like I said, the first one was over 20 years ago, and I kind of look back on it now and I go, even if I just did one issue a year, I'd have 24 of them now, and I'm like, wow. And, it is one of those things. This is the old guy in me going, listen, kids, don't wait till later. Do it now. Because, I'm at later. I'm not at super, super later, thank God, but I'm at later. And like I said, even if I did one a year, it would have been 24 issues as of now. And if I did one every 2 years, I'd have 12,
Right.
So it's like, you know what? Later's here. I don't want to look back and be like, I should have done that.
Mm-hmm.
So even if for, and hopefully not, but if for some reason I get this one out and then something happens and that's the last one, at least I can say it's 64 pages, it's square bound, it tells one complete story, and it's done.
Yep. Absolutely, man.
So,
I mean,
but hopefully there'll be more. So.
Oh, hopefully. I mean, you got a story that you want to tell, and that's the reason to do a book. You got a story that you want to tell, and you're excited about that story, and you have the opportunity to tell it. I'm excited to see where it's going to go. I'm going to absolutely raid my shop the next time I'm in there, looking to see if I can find the first issue.
Good luck.
Yeah. Hey, stranger things have happened. It's you never know what will pop up. I actually had somebody, one of my regulars, come into the shop and give me a whole bunch of old Cyberfrog from Harris Comics back in the day. Yeah. We were chatting, and I was talking about, Ethan Van Sciver is doing Cyberfrog, and the regular's like, Cyberfrog? Holy shit, I haven't thought about that in years. I actually have some of those. You want them? I was like, sure. So he brought them in for me, gave them to me as a Christmas gift, because he was trying to pare down his collection, because he's got lots of stuff been collecting for years.
Oh, yeah.
He's trying to figure out what he really wants to keep, what he doesn't need to keep. So
Yeah.
I got lucky. The second, I think it's the first miniseries, and then Reservoir Frog. So
That's cool.
yeah, it's fun stuff. It's always interesting to see what comes into the shop, because people will bring in collections to see if Vanessa wants to buy them. That's how we get old stuff. As a matter of fact,
Oh, yeah.
where did it go? The other day, I picked up this gem.
Oh,
Right?
that's nice.
Yeah, and again, I waited until the end of the day to see if anybody was going to pick it up, and nobody did. And I was like, you know what? I'm not a huge Daredevil fan, but I do
That's
like
a key.
myself some Frank Miller. So
Yeah, and that's
pick it
a
up.
key. I still have the one I bought as a kid. So
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. What was the first comic that got you into comics? Like, what was the first comic where you're like, wow, I love this?
I don't think it's on. I have a spin rack as well. I don't think I don't think it's on my spin rack. But the first comic I ever bought was Captain America 275.
Nice.
Yep,
Very nice.
Mike Zeck, John Beatty. Love that whole run. They just reprinted it in a Captain America Essential Collection that came out in November, actually, because I picked it up.
Nice.
Because I've been waiting for a reprint of the Mike Zeck run because I loved his work on it. Finally, in November, it came out. So,
That's awesome.
yep. So that was it. It's Captain America 275.
For me, it was a Batman comic. I don't remember the number, but my dad got me into comics really young, like 3.
Mhm.
I couldn't even read, and he gave me comics because he read comics as a kid. But I was motivated to learn how to read because I wanted to know what Batman, Spider-Man, and the Fantastic Four were saying. But
Sure.
once I could read this one issue of Batman, it was New Adventures of Batman. It was Two-Face on one side and Batman and Robin here, and there's this giant ball rolling at them. And just the adventure, the story in that one, it just hooked me, and I was like, wow, I love this. Because I could tell what was kind of going on because of the pictures, but once I went back and was actually able to read the story, I remember it just kind of transforming for me, and I don't know. From then on, I was just like, yes, comics.
Yep.
Just
Yep.
love this stuff. Can't even remember the artist who was on it. I want to say it was Aparo. I think that was during Aparo's run. I could be
Probably.
wrong.
I can show you one thing. Here, I'll show you one thing real quick.
Awesome. And guys, if you have any more questions for Andy about First Man, or just about Andy in general, drop them in the chat.
This is for the ultimate, if you need to collect everything I did, collector. The first cartoon that got me into stuff was Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Yeah.
And it was an episode that guest starred the X-Men.
Oh,
right?
A Firestar is Born?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one.
It was that episode. And years later, when I started working for Marvel, and it was within my first couple of years working for Marvel, the licensing department called me up and they asked me if I could draw a cover for a VHS box, for a videotape box. And it was for that episode. So this is the actual set. And then there's the art that I did for the cover back then.
That's awesome.
So,
oh yeah.
So talk about full circle. I've got about 3 of these.
Wow.
I find them at, if I find one, I buy it. 'Cause they're like $2. So
yeah, totally. Oh
yeah.
Man. And VHS. Like I have some VHS. This is a small selection of my VHS up there, but
oh yeah.
I went to a VHS swap meet a couple years ago and got a bunch of old Hammer horror films and Vincent Price movies and whatnot.
That's cool.
Yeah. Love VHS as a format. I have a lot of stuff that I need to capture off of VHS, as a matter of fact, just because it's a very fragile format, unfortunately.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Let's see. Apex says he has DD 181 as well. Nice. When
Have to.
Wolverine spoke Australian, yeah, that Pride of the X-Men, the animation was great. You remember that one, Andy? It was,
Oh yeah.
I think, yeah, um,
Yeah, they just put a book out. They just put a hardcover book out about the making of that
really.
series. Yeah, it
Oh,
came out. It literally just came out last year in the fall. I got it for a friend of mine's birthday who's a huge X-Men fan, and it's a gorgeous book.
that's awesome. Yeah, I remember as a kid seeing that that episode and always hoping that they would finally show another episode, and they never did. Like every so often for a Saturday they would show X-Men, and I would always hope it'd be like the second episode because I've seen the first episode 3 times now. No. Came to find out later that they only made one. I was like, oh.
Yeah,
The animation was great, but the accent was
that was a
but
little,
that
yeah.
was in the comics. The X-Men were living in the outback, right? At that
Oh, I
time
don't
in the
know.
80s, like late 80s. That was like the whole X-Men outback team with Rogue with her big hair and the green
Yeah,
suit,
yeah,
and
yeah.
long shot and
I'm not
Dazzler.
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I I want to say they were supposed to be dead or something like that, and they were hiding out in the Australian outback, and that's where what's his name spins the thing Gateway lives. Anyway, I just opened
Yeah,
up
I
a
don't
very
know.
creaky cobweb door of X-Men lore that I haven't touched in a while.
I
All
hear
right,
you.
guys, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. If anybody has any
Cool.
questions, go ahead and drop it in the chat because we've been going for about an hour and 15 here, and you know, I know Andy's got stuff that he's got to do. Important first man work. So,
Yeah.
how close is the book to being done? Like, is artwork wise, where are you at?
Oh, it's 95% done.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I've got
awesome.
like 4 page. Yeah, I've got 4 pages to draw. So
That's
yeah, it's
wow.
94%
So
done.
done anytime now.
Yeah, I mean, I got to do the 4 pages, and then I just got to shoot a bunch of stuff to the colorist and do that. And then my buddy's scripting it now. So
Oh, that reminds me of something I wanted to ask earlier. The way that you guys are collaborating is kind of like I don't know, kind of like a takeoff on the old Marvel method. Like you came up with like kind of the story
oh, it
beats.
totally is.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's how I worked when I got into business at Marvel.
Okay.
I worked plot style. So they sent me a plot, and then I'd
Hmm.
send the pages back, and then Mark Grunwald was the writer, and he'd script them. So, and I worked with
That's
Chris Claremont on a couple issues of X-Men Forever that way as well. So
awesome.
yeah, so that's, I like doing it that way, you know. And then
Yeah.
he can sense when he's looking at the pages in the panels of how much blathering he needs to do or doesn't want to do or whatever for filling up space, and you know.
Yeah. Well, and it feels more like a collaboration. Like
Oh
there's a
yeah,
back and forth. It's more of a conversation rather than like, okay, this is this, and then you do this.
right.
Yeah. The
Yep,
back and forth.
totally.
Justin J Money says, "Are you two in the same room? Looks like you're both in the same room. Similar
Nope.
similar decorating styles."
Similar
Well,
decorating
as
style. Yeah,
as Silvar says, comic
it
book
is. It's a
cave.
comic book cave.
And Kami Mark says, "Writing the Marvel way is how I write too." What up, Kami Mark? Welcome.
What's up, man? Yeah, it's a preferred way for most guys I know. I mean, we don't have a lot of say working for the companies. It's not like we can be like, we want to work this way.
Right.
But I think if it's left up to the artist, they would probably say, yeah, I'd rather work the Marvel way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know a lot of people, like Lionel Francis Yu. I remember reading an interview with Warren Ellis that he had to change his writing style to the Marvel method because that's the only way Lionel Francis Yu had worked. He wasn't used to
Right.
having like full scripts, and that's when they did the what is it? Not Dead Yet. I think that was the
Oh,
first
yeah,
one
yeah.
they did on Wolverine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a great way. Like I said, it's a conversation. It's a back and forth. It's a great way to, I don't know, build a gestalt of the two creative individuals.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's definitely funner for the artist. I mean, it just gives us more to do and more input into the storytelling. And I mean, every writer I've worked with, even if they write full script, has always said, do what you want. If you want to add panels, I don't care. Just don't,
That's
as
awesome.
long as you don't change the overall flow of the story. Most writers are like, just, do what you want.
That's excellent.
So,
Fenrir Fire says, a nice long stack, Andy.
right there.
Yeah, yeah. Are those the drawer boxes?
Yes, they are.
Nice. How do you like them?
Love them.
All
A
right.
friend of mine a friend of mine that lives in town had them, and I would see him, and it took me a couple years before I finally pulled the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did, I was like, man, I wish I did this years ago.
All right. I will take that as high praise, because I have thought about it. And I was just like, nah, can cardboard really be sturdy enough to hold the comics?
Oh yeah.
Fantastic. All right.
Yeah, I mean, they tell you not to stack more than 5, so you can tell on the top are just regular boxes. Since they're on the top, I can just lift the lids.
Sure.
But I'm probably in the next month or so going to order another case, because a case is 5 of them, so it's one row. So I'll probably order another case and swap out all the stuff that's in those and have just drawer on top. But the guy does say don't go more than 5 high.
Okay, well, I mean, that makes sense.
No, don't go more than 4. Yeah, those are 4 high. So don't go more than 4 high.
Well, that makes sense. The weight of the books. I try not to stack like regular boxes more than that. I've got several long boxes in there, and I have stacks of 4, and that's about as high as I'll go. They get a little teetery if you put them any higher.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Andy, thank you so much for coming to hang out, man, and talking to us about
No,
First
thank
Man.
you. I so much appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. We need to get as many eyes on this project as possible. Link is in the chat, thanks to Frog G and Mad Ruth. It's also in the description of the video. So click that link, buy the book, get the extra bonus book with the awesome artwork.
Support.
You know you want it. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it on up. Thank you so much for being here, and we will talk to you later.